possible. All right, Tina, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:14. Roll call, please.
Gina Sakala.
Here.
Tim Neville. Doug Maxellen. Bethany Olette.
Here.
Bob Crisati.
He's here.
Here.
Marie Pesner.
Here.
Melissa Everett. Scott Ryder.
Here.
Jonathan LeBlanc. John Ungeyer. Tina LeBlanc.
Here. All right, approval of previous meetings minutes of January 26th. I think you guys all received them. Any questions, or can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
Any questions? I think we'll have enough to approve them. Is anybody abstaining? Let's do all in favor.
I was not at the meeting, so I have to abstain.
All right, so then we need to push this because we don't have 6 votes for it. All right, so we're gonna table 3. Special guests. I guess, Bill, I can say you're a special guest. If you want to just maybe introduce yourself, and I know you're going to be with us talking about some other stuff, so, but you could just introduce yourself to the committee.
My name is Bill Dufour, the Deputy Director of DPW Capital Projects and Administration.
Thank you. All right, unfinished business. Eli Whitney Hazardville Memorial roof replacement. Fred, if you want to go through that, there was a final walkthrough a couple of days ago.
Yeah, so we had a walkthrough on Monday afternoon and we inspected both roofs. There was I have some pictures for you. Are you guys seeing this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
So that's Hazardville Memorial. There was I think one small seam that was coming up that we pointed out that they're going to repair, but other than that, the roof looked good. And then so that's also Hazardville. The Eli Whitney, there was no issues found at Eli Whitney for a punch list. Job is complete. If you see here, this is the brick wall that was sealed as a change order.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the completion of the roof. Do you guys have any questions on that? It was a pretty uneventful walkthrough, I'd say. There was really no major issues, just a couple small things.
Anybody have any questions? So all of that work included all of the change orders that we've ordered and we approved, and all of the invoices that we've already approved. So there's just that one last thing they have to do at Hazardville. Will you do another walkthrough for that seam, or?
We'll verify once they come repair it, we'll verify that it's all set before we sign off on it. Hazardville also had a couple things that weren't really related to the roof. There was a broken block window that they needed to repair and a basketball hoop that were both scheduled as well. So when those are complete, we will verify and I will report to this committee. Eli Whitney is completely done.
Okay. So the roof replacement, I mean, that item can probably come off of our agenda as soon as you report that Hazardville is all done. And then at that point, we're just dealing with reimbursement issues.
Correct.
So I may keep A on the agenda one more time, and then you can tell me when we're good to go. And I can.
Yep, that works for me.
Okay. Moving right along, because we'll get into some of the reimbursement stuff under new business. Transfer update, transfer station. I know I did say none, but Fred does say he has a small update on that.
So they did move the old scale to the new location. The old scale was in this area here. I think I have a picture of where it used to be. So now they are able to continue on with the site work and the installation of the new old scale in the new spot. And they dug the trench, and now the cameras are set up and they're in the process of integrating them into our system. So they trenched this over to this pole, installed a camera on this pole, ran power to it underground. And so that we are coming along at the transfer station.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions on the transfer station? Perfect. All right. Moving on under new business. All right. I just wanted to do a quick update for the referendum, and I know Fred has one brief update on that as well. I know when we talked about where we were in timing wise, there were some questions on when things would start, and then we had passed the public safety referendum, so the public safety complex came off of our list. And so I may defer to you, Tina, in a minute to maybe just give a brief overview, but I'm sure everybody's aware
Sure.
that the Board of Ed is creating a school modernization committee that is going to be kicking off very soon. And I just make people aware that that may alter, again, some of our next steps in some of the schools that we may or may not do. So I don't know, Tina, if you want to give a brief.
Sure. So we understand with the town council coming up and the referendum plus some of the capital improvements that the town council has to budget for school projects is, right around the corner. So I think we're going to be looking at an aggressive timeline to perhaps have the committee come up with their recommendation by April 6th within a joint meeting to both the town council and the Board of Ed. April 6th is kind of like our cutoff date because Friday is Good Friday, and then we have April break, which we typically wouldn't meet on. So the applications are due in tomorrow, and then we'd be keeping a pretty aggressive timeline through that. And the idea is to meet at the actual schools, doing 2 schools a night. So for example, we'd meet at Hazardville and Whitney because they're sister schools. We don't need to recreate the wheel as far as space, but we can go ahead and look at the pain points in the buildings as far as windows, door locks, things like that. So then we'd move on to Barnard and Crandall, and then we move on to Enfield Street and Parkman, just because they're that sister school model. So it just makes sense to do them together. And then we would do HB Stowe and Eagle Academy.
Perfect.
So the idea is to get the committee to make their recommendations. Do we need 6 schools? What the plan is, so the town council can budget accordingly, and then this committee can work on it as well. Shift priorities, if so be it.
Right. So I think the idea, depending on what this committee, what their recommendation is, it may or may not alter some of the roofs that we have queued up in the next couple of years. So kind of just keep that on the back burner. I don't know if anybody has any questions on that piece, and then I'll go to Fred. Oh, perfect. All right. Anything else, Tina, on that?
I can just add that Fred is going to be the liaison for us, and I think that's fabulous. And it's an exciting time to figure out what direction we want to go in, and I'm looking forward to the work, even though it's going to be intense for probably the next 2 weeks, but we will see.
Right. That's great that Fred, that you're the liaison, because obviously you have the inner workings on what is up in our queue too. So that works. Perfect. Thank you very much, Tina. I know I just put you on the spot because I didn't tell you ahead of time that
No problem.
I was gonna
love
ask
talking
you.
about it.
All right, Fred, as far as next steps for what we do have in the queue, if you want to talk a little bit about the next couple of schools and what we're doing.
All right, so the next school is not scheduled until next year, I believe. I'd have to look into that, but I did just have a kickoff meeting with Russell and Dawson for design of Alcorn School. So we are going to have a site visit on, I think, Tuesday. They're going to come take a look at the school and begin design work for the roof at Alcorn.
So Alcorn wouldn't be a part of the school modernization project?
No,
So-
that is actually a municipal building.
Right. So that's good if that is the next one, because whether this committee recommends something that eventually becomes a thing that we work on together as a town, that wouldn't probably even come into play. So that's good.
Right. And Marie, I know for your benefit, because you weren't here at the last meeting, we did talk about kind of what the timeline is. Alcorn is late summer to start, or what's the timeline now for Alcorn?
Yes, I think the completion date goal is, I think, October 1st.
Of 2023.
Yes.
So that the majority of that work would take place over the summer when the building's not being used.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Even though,
Thank you.
good. Anything else on your end on that, Fred?
No, I can't say that I really have a whole lot yet, just because we had about a 20-minute Zoom call the other day, just discussing what they were going to look at. I sent them some blueprints, the existing blueprints of what we had. I expect to learn a lot more when they come out and take a look and walk around. I will have I don't have it right in front of me now, but I will research the school roof schedule, what is planned, so we can have that for the next meeting and for this, the modernization committee.
I have it. I know Donald and I got it at the same time. Parkman, Crandall, are 2024. That's what they're scheduled for. Stowe and Annex are scheduled for 2025. So, but the PD was also scheduled for 2022. So that.
Right. That's on hold.
Yep, and the annex is going to be massive, so I think it's going to be like a 2-year project.
And the annex is actually classified as municipal as well.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much for that. All right. So moving on, new business 6B, roof reimbursement. So the packet that you guys got with those 18 pages is really goes to what we're going to talk about now. Fred, I'm gonna send it over to you and Bill on this, just because I feel like you can probably talk more intelligently about it than I do. I just can preface it by, I think we have some issues with some of the reimbursements that we thought were eligible, but have now been deemed ineligible for some various reasons. So you guys can take it away.
All right, so you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So this change order, this is what we received from the state, from the administrative services, these notice of change orders. And we received back this here, which notifies that alternate number 2 was ineligible for reimbursement. This change order number 1 and change order number 2 were not eligible for reimbursement because they were not submitted in time for the state to reimburse, which is 6 months, which is, as you can see here, 6-month rule is why they are not eligible. And then this is, I'm sorry, I didn't catch which. This is Eli Whitney, and then as you can see, we got a very similar sheet for Hazardville. which also alternate number 2 was not submitted to the state. And these 4 change orders were not submitted within 6 months of the required time to be reimbursed, which is why the state has deemed them ineligible. Let me just spin back around here. This statute here states that it shall not be submitted not later than 6 months after the date of issuance to the Commissioner of Education. And the date of the change order is the first date the trade contractor signifies approval for additional work to proceed. Our change orders were not submitted in time. As we go down here,
Fred, just so we're clear, the change orders that the JFC approved were not submitted to the state in time. So you guys approved all those change orders. They just weren't passed on to the state within the 6 months for reimbursement.
Do we know by
the other items that were on there that weren't eligible for reimbursement were more maintenance items. There was a couple clogged drains on the roofs that didn't qualify because it's more of a maintenance issue. I believe there was one other one, the PCB removal. This is not in the project scope. As far as the alternates, number 2, and the 207,000, I'm not sure if they didn't submit any of the paperwork that goes along with those 2 change orders, or what that. I'm not sure what backup not apparent means. So we reached out to CSG, and CSG got back to us saying that they're working on negotiating with the state, the Office of State School Grant Committees, and they are trying to negotiate the dates, the change order dates. So I'm not quite sure where that stands. That's, like I mentioned earlier, we really need a timeline of how this is going to progress and what the status of that 400 some odd dollars is. Sorry about that, Fred. Go ahead.
it's with the School Construction Grants and Review. The Office of School Construction Grants and Review is the one who sent this to us. So this is on CSG. This was CSG's responsibility, and we are awaiting a response from them as to why we have not received, or why this is not eligible.
Did you have anything else before we start probably peppering you with questions?
Let me go down. I do have at the end. Right, let me just go through these key points first before we do that. I don't know if you guys went through your packets, but all construction project change orders are required to be submitted using this form with the 6-month memorandum. And the primary reason change orders are determined to be ineligible is missing backup documentation. Documentation on how the cost of the change order is derived is critical to establishing eligibility. Backup not apparent, I believe, is in reference to this bullet point here. But as you can see on the form, that's not necessarily very clear. And there was one more. This just explains the ineligible costs that we have, such as the snaking of the drain, the PCBs. Those are expected to be, we're expected not to be eligible. So there's really no issue with those.
We knew that, right? Yeah.
Yep. Warranties. This is an email that Donald wrote to CSG and Tom Hibbert. This email is a very clear explanation of what we believe the problem is. Donald was the one who wrote this. The totals of 229,710 for Whitney and $257,633.16 for Memorial. I'm sorry, that includes the ones that are not in scope. So backup not apparent. We just discussed that. This is really what is being hung up right now, is that we do not know why we are not being reimbursed. We have ideas. CSG says they're working on it, but we really have not got a clear and concise answer from them yet. We were hoping that someone from there would be on this meeting tonight and we could ask them directly, but it sounds like they are at the JFK committee meeting tonight.
Mhm.
So
That's my,
Right.
not here.
So we need to track them down and get a definitive timeline of when we can expect answers for this.
Um,
Excuse
okay,
me.
well,
just-
hang on one second, Bob. Hang
Yeah.
on. Fred, anything else from you or Bill? Before,
They take the questions.
okay. I know, Scott, you had started to say something. I want to make sure you're all set and then we'll go down the line.
No, my answer came as Fred kind of concluded. I wanted to throw it to Marie first. I think she might have had the same question initially.
Okay. Marie, and then we can go to you, Bob, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Marie.
So again, it's been a while since I've been on here, but it was CSG's responsibility to get these to the state within that 6-month time frame, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so without them being here, we don't have them to defend themselves on why it didn't get there. Can you I looked at the totals quickly as you were going through it. So I've got a total of 266.90 and 256 or 257, 633. Those are each school that we could be short possibly. Am I
So
reading those right?
No.
this
What's the total?
number, 70%. Hang on, let me go back. There's a lot of numbers in this. Hang
There
on.
is.
Yeah, I know. And so I was trying to grab them, so I don't
It
need to be.
might-
Let me go up to the,
50, it might be the 158 plus the something or other.
let me go
No,
up.
the way I'm looking at it, if you just look at the last paragraph that, as Donald mentioned in his letter, that they don't lose out on approximately $330,000.
330.
So, that's probably 70% of the total.
Okay.
Right, it is the 70% reimbursement rate.
Right.
Okay, so if I
Right.
add together that 266, 257 and do 70%, that's gonna come out like 330. Okay, I just want to make ssure my math is good. I'm just, again, trying to get myself reacquainted with the committee. So,
Right, this
Right.
is the total number right here
okay,
for both schools together, 70%.
yeah, that's a big number. And obviously someone's gonna reach out to Chris and Sam and see what happened and where we're gonna move forward on this. 'Cause
Well,
that's a big number.
We have reached out to them and they said they were going to look into it, so it's just a matter of following up with them at this point.
Because going back, and again, I've been off the committee for a little bit. I remember we had some hiccups and there was some meetings that we didn't have because we didn't have a quorum. Would that be a possible reason why these didn't get in on time?
I'm
No,
not,
because the change orders would have been approved on this level.
Okay,
They needed to be approved on this level in order to be submitted.
okay. All right, fair enough. Thank you.
All set, Marie? Bob,
Yeah. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for all this information in regards to all of the change orders. It's very disheartening to know that we have, CSG, whose responsibility is to get this paperwork, especially with the change orders already, approved by this committee, to know that, late in the submission of it, and that we could be out of quite a bit of money, which will definitely, hurt and set us back a little here. So I'm really looking forward to see what CSG, what their reasoning is behind this, and if somebody, if it was an outright mistake on their part, then they should be held accountable for some of these funds here. So, not really a question, but but I'm glad that we have all this information that is presented to us.
That might be now.
Yeah, so.
Oh, Christopher.
See if that-
I'm good.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Did he come in? Oh, there he is.
Yes.
Chris, that you? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I am sorry. I was at a wake earlier and I totally lost track of time.
That's okay. Well, very sorry for your loss. So just to pick up, I'm gonna just catch you up real quick. We're talking about the issues with some of the reimbursement stuff that looks like it totals a little over $330,000 with stuff that was deemed ineligible for both Hazardville and Eli Whitney. And I know that Bill and Fred said they're kind of looking for a timeline and where we are on that. So I don't know if you have some answers about any of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm working with Barbara from the state who sent that letter. We sent the change order over to Silktown in November. So we're just trying to, I'm working with her on getting that date to change. I don't have a time frame though. Hopefully it'll be soon. But I don't know exactly when.
So can I ask a question then? So are you saying that then that it falls on Silktown to drop the ball?
No, it's not Silktown because we sent them the change. So there's a couple things. So the date of Tom's signature on the AIA change order is incorrect. Tom generated the change order in November, not in. I forget what the date of the change order. His signature date is.
You mean on all of the ones that were deemed ineligible, or some of them?
The AIA change order. That change order.
Okay.
July 13th. That he didn't sign that change order July 13th. I'm not sure where that date came from.
Okay.
He didn't generate this change order until November, and then that's when we sent it to Silktown. So that's what I need to explain to the state. That's the date that we need to use, is the November date.
Which would put us within our time frame.
Correct.
Okay. But that's only for, would this AIA document take care of, I don't mean to look like I'm staring at somebody, I'm trying to read the document.
It should take care of them, yes, because
this would take care of
technically
all of the issues?
Yes,
So all of the ones that were mapped out in Donald's letter, all of the different
Yes.
ones that are highlighted, I think there's like 6 or 7 of them were all deemed ineligible. This date change on his signature would take care of all of the issues. That's what you're saying?
correct. Yes, because all the backup is technically proposals. None of this was done on T&M. So the T&M date doesn't apply. It's the date of the change order to the contractor, which is the date of the AIA.
Okay. And whose ball is the phone call in now? Like, is Barbara getting back to you, or do you?
Mine. Yes, I'm waiting for Barbara to call me back. Yep. Barbara's the reviewer at the state. I've emailed her some information. I had a quick call with her and she said she received it, but she didn't look at it and she was in the middle of something. So we would talk at some point.
Okay.
I called her.
And for
I
my
called her
OC
again today and I left her a voicemail. So I didn't get a chance to talk to her today.
Okay, perfect. And so for my micromanaging OCD, you'll give her a call next week.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. No, I want to resolve this while it's fresh with her. And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want this to go cold.
Yeah, neither do we. Bill or Fred, do you have any questions while we have Chris here? Any timelines that you're looking for or anything?
I do have a quick question for Chris. Changing the date of the change order would satisfy the 6-month rule, but on this alternate number 2, backup not a parrot, would fix that as well?
No, no. The backup for that is the actual bid form, which I have to go back and take a look at. I do know, I forget the other guy's name that was there before Bill. He sent me a link. I think it was to the bid documents. I don't know if that link included the actual bid form, so I might need to call purchasing to get that, but that's all that is.
So once
That alternate was a lump sum attached to their bid documents. It was the bid form.
So once you submit the correct bid documents, that will be resolved as well?
Yeah.
Does that not apply for the 6-month rule, seeing that was back in May, I believe?
No, because it's all part of the same change order.
Okay, so it doesn't go by when the work was completed or when it was initiated? It goes by when it was submitted?
Only if it's T&M work. Then it goes by the date of the T&M ticket. But none of this work was done on T&M and definitely not the alternate.
Okay.
It's the date of the change order.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions for, I know I jumped in, sorry. Bethany or Tina, does anybody have any questions for either Fred, Bill, or Chris while we have them?
No.
Chris, can you email then me, Fred, Donald, and Bill or whoever next week with an update on where we stand, even if it's just still waiting for a phone call back from Barbara, left a message, tagged she's it, something?
Sure.
Because I know this is something that we're talking $330,000, so
Right.
And budget's coming up, so it's not something that we need to forget about.
Right.
So
Yep.
So I do have one quick question. This goes to Chris. Chris, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. So in your dealings with the state of Connecticut on something like this, with this particular change of order, the dates not being jiving here, is the state receptive to that, knowing that the signature, the date sign on this, the AIA form is not the right? So, I mean, are they going to give us a hard time on this or not?
They should be. They should be amenable to this.
Okay.
They should give me a hard time with this.
Okay. All right. Well, that will put me a little at ease knowing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else have any questions? Awesome. Chris, I really appreciate you jumping on. I know you were busy. So thank
Yeah,
you.
no, yeah, like I said, I apologize.
No, that's okay. I
Oh.
appreciate it. All right. So anything else on any of the reimbursements that we need to discuss, Fred, or we get it? And Bill, are we good?
I'm all set. I'm pretty satisfied with these answers, so.
Perfect. That makes me happy. Good. All right, so we can move on. Committee comments. Anybody have any committee comments? No, I appreciate you all spending your Thursday evening with me. Next meeting date, I think we're gonna keep that April 13th one then. Hopefully we'll have a quorum. Scott, I know you will not be here, and Tina, I know you will get minutes afterwards. I'll just do roll call. Bob, did you have something?
Yeah, I will not be there on the 13th,
Okay.
just for.
I do have, actually, I do
I'll-
have
I'll
a
be away
comment,
that
Tina.
week.
Okay, so no Bob or Scott. And Chris, if you and Fred can let me know at least a week ahead of time if we're gonna have action items or an update for that 13th, because if we don't, or I can just send, if we're not gonna have anything to talk about, we don't need to have a meeting.
Sure.
I would love to have an answer about the reimbursement stuff, but go ahead, Tina, and then Marie.
Sure. I was just going to say that as far as liaisons go for the PK 5 modernization, I just want to come up with an acronym for that committee. It's a mouthful. So that's what I want to know.
SMC
No,
23.
just kidding. That's nothing for here. I just wanted to say that Scott and Gina are the liaisons on that committee. So I think that both committees will be working closely together. Fred is the other liaison so that we can have a lot of communication and different things happening in joint facilities too, because I believe both committees are going to have to work together. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Marie.
Just quickly, Tina or Gina, can you share what Chris sends with you as far as the status with the state? Because as you said, going into budget, that's going to be a big figure. So just so if we can just get shared that information, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, if I get something well enough ahead of time of like a meeting, I can share that with you. I'm pretty confident and satisfied that Chris will be able to handle it now that we have like a kind of an outline of what's happened and what the issue is, that we'll be able to get over that hump and we're not going to be responsible for that. So, but yes, once I get that and we can share it, we will absolutely do that with the committee.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so please mark your calendar for the 13th. And if I send you an email on the 13th or a text message asking where you are, Scott and Bob, then that just means I forgot you told me you weren't going to be here.
I'll be in the Bahamas.
Do not answer my text message then.
I will not.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Motion.
There's a second.
Great, all in favor? Perfect. We are adjourned at 6:53. Thank you guys for being efficient. And have a good one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, bye.